Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We are so thrilled to be with you all today to share this really important for us, and we hope important for you, work that Dr. Ula Aba Amsha has been working on diligently over the last 6 months, Ula, along with our project fellows, including Hadiza and Jihan, who join us today to share some of their perspectives. My name is Julie Casper. I'm the project lead on this particular quality holistic learning project and the director for teacher learning and leadership at the Center for Professional Learning and Childhood Education International. Next slide. Today we have a pretty simple agenda. We're going to start with a little background to give a little context for the report. We'll hear a little bit from our fellows about their experiences, both at the beginning and later in the presentation. Ula will be sharing lessons learned from the project, and then we'll be sharing some challenges and opportunities as well as recommendations for sustainable, accessible, and equitable teacher professional development, or continuous professional development, as it's sometimes called in the field. Next slide. The Center for Professional Learning at Childhood Education International is very excited to be with you today, to be sharing this report. The Center for Professional Learning has been at CE International since December of 2021. Prior to that, we were called the Center for Learning and Practice, and we were housed at the Carey Institute for Global Good. So some of you may know us under that name. And I'd like to pause for a moment to just thank Dr. Diana Woolis for her leadership in this project and this program, and for the Center for Professional Learning. She very much guides all of our thinking and work, even though she has stepped away from the Center for Professional Learning at the moment. I also want to thank Gareth Crawford at the Carey Institute for Global Good. He and Diana came up with the wonderful ideas around a refugee educator workforce development project, of which this is a part. And then, of course, to thank our team at Childhood Education International. It's a very broad team, including operations, Diane Whitehead, our CEO, our communications colleague, Casey, so many people, Anne, who helped with the report in proofreading, Laren, who helped styling, so many people to thank, and you can read some more of those thank yous in the report. But just to situate us in that, our vision at the Center for Professional Learning is really a world where education systems provide sustainable learning pathways that create an empowered educator workforce that is equipped to tackle the evolving education challenges of which we all are a part. And our core initiatives include the Refugee Educator Academy and the Quality Holistic Learning Project. Next slide. So this particular project, as I just noted a moment ago, it's called the Refugee Educator Workforce Development for Quality Holistic Learning Project. It comes out of the Sustainable Learning Framework that Dr. Diana Willis developed, and that guides our efforts to really ensure that we're not only providing learning opportunities, but that we're co-creating those learning opportunities. And we'll talk more about that as we go. We started this project in 2021 with focal points in Lebanon, Kenya, Niger, and Chad. Hadiza and Jihan, who are joining us as presenters today, are two of our leaders in those areas. Hadiza is in Niger and Jihan is in Lebanon. We work as a remote digital team to co-create teacher professional development materials for use online and offline. And we create materials in Arabic, English, and French. And we share these as open education resources, and I will drop that link in the chat momentarily. Next slide. Just to give you a little more context in terms of what this project is aiming to do, we are looking to increase quality holistic learning outcomes. And by that, we mean not only the academic achievement and growth of learners, but also their social and emotional learning and their well-being across displacement contexts. And we consider both children, students, and teachers as learners. And we're working on those quality holistic learning outcomes for both children and teachers. The shorter term goals that we're working towards are increasing teacher competency, building knowledge around social emotional learning, holistic teaching and learning, and improving data-informed teaching. And again, I want to thank Dr. Woolis for her guidance in setting these objectives within the Sustainable Learning Framework. I also want to thank our funders and thought partners at Porticus, who are always provoking our thinking to go more deeply into this work and try to solve some of the larger ecosystem challenges that we face. So a little bit about the project design, and I know that our fellows and Ula will get into this more later, but very important to highlight that this is very much a learner-centered approach, and we focus on teachers as the key members of our creative community. They bring the knowledge, they bring the experience from the classroom, and they bring the perspective about their context, what works and what doesn't, what's relevant, what's meaningful, what's culturally appropriate, and so on. And in that way, we contextualize materials, not only at the national level, but at regional and local levels, working in both urban centers and in refugee camp centers. And we also work in those two places, both with national citizen teachers and teachers of refugee and displaced backgrounds. Again, in Kenya, Lebanon, Niger, and Chad, and across 3 languages. Also really important in our process is that it is emerging. We're learning as we go, including through this report, which is a very important document of our learning and a guiding document now for our next steps and our future learning. And the process is very iterative. So we learn alongside each other and our colleagues and our partners and everyone in this ecosystem with which we are working. Next slide. And just a final note on in terms of the context about which this report is speaking, from our perspective, we are working across a variety of open educational resource formats. So we have courses that are open and accessible. We have micro-credentials, which are competency-based assessment. Those are open and available as well. We've created workshops for offline use. Those are in PowerPoint decks with facilitation guides. We've created handbooks for teacher learning circles. We also have a prototype app on ComCare, which helps teachers to measure and document their well-being, as well as the social emotional learning of their students. And if you are interested in learning more about any of these tools, you can visit our website. We'll drop the links both to the project site and to the OER site in the chat box. But you can also reach out to us for further discussion. We would love to talk with you about any of the materials. And with that, I will stop the background and context and introduce our really esteemed panel who will be sharing their work with you today, which includes Dr. Ulo Abba Amsha, who will be talking about the report directly in just a moment. Hadiza Amu, who will be talking about her experience with the project and her experience as an educator in Niger. And Jihan Sondos, who's going to be talking to us from Lebanon about her experience as a teacher and working with the project. So I'll turn the mic over now to Jihan, and I thank you all for joining us this morning, this evening. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to introduce myself again. I'm Jihan Sundus. I'm an English teacher from Lebanon. I work both in the morning shift and the afternoon shift, which is mainly dedicated for non-Lebanese residents, refugees especially. I'm going to reflect on working on the project briefly. First of all, this project or training was unlike any training that we have received in Lebanon. I've been teaching for 10 years, approximately 10 years now, and all the trainings that we received in Lebanon was deductive. We don't participate, we don't choose the material, we don't reflect our needs or the needs of the learners, mainly because we are in the classroom. We know what we need and what they need. So unlike any other training, this project was based on our needs and the learners' needs in the classroom. And also the great way about working in this project, that we were able to learn the materials through creating it. We were the creators. So by creating it, we were able to acquire this knowledge and material more. We became professional in it. Also, what I like the most is our community. We don't work individually in this project. We work as a team, as a community, as a family, knowing because we have a lot of challenges in our countries, whether in Lebanon, in Kenya, in Chad, in Niger. We have a lot of challenges. Through working in this community, we were able to exchange expertise. We were able to learn from each other, and most importantly, we were able to help and support each other. So whenever we know we need to do something, and because of a certain challenge, especially the infrastructure challenges in our countries, the electricity or the internet connection, I can do something. I always know there is a team, there is a facilitator, there is someone in our community to support us. If I don't know how to do something, there's always someone who is ready to teach me and help me however I need. Thank you. It's also an important point for me, especially. This project didn't support us only on the professional level. Of course, we had a lot of professional development in this training, but we were also able to be supported on the personal level. Myself, my personality has changed, my perspective to things and things that were taken into granted, we were able to perceive it in very different way. We were able to know how important our well-being as teachers is. It changed me and on a different level, not only professionally but also personally. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jihan, for this insightful testimonial. We are always inspired by you and by your colleagues. It's really great. So thank you for setting the stage for me and preparing the audience to understand why we insist on working with teachers when we are willing to design professional development for the teachers in different hard circumstances and contexts like displacement or low resources or conflict, etc. So let me first explain to you why we decided to work on this project. So in order for me to clarify this, I need maybe to walk you through the different phases of the project. So initially, the project started almost 2 years ago. It started with a phase where we recruited teachers, we formed teams we managed to have teams in 3 countries. So we started with them. We started to make sure that a team is built, a team spirit is there, that they are able to express their ideas, to exchange, to identify needs, and to provide their insights and share resources, etc. And then we started to co-create with them. So we decided with them about the formats of the resources, always for teacher professional development. We decided with them about the format, about the content, and about many aspects of the resources. So we co-created with them, and then they took the lead on piloting in their local communities and their schools around them, or even online, but with their own virtual communities, etc. So they took the lead on that, and then they brought back the feedback and the needs for revisions and all that. So we published our first set of resources in August of 2022. And then we had the chance with our funder believing in us to spend more time to work on the dissemination and the uptake of the resources that we delivered. So with this, a big question arises, which is that, yes, the resources are here. The resources are accessible, visible on our website, but what is needed to make sure that they are used and that they are accessible and visible to teachers, even in the most remote areas with the least resources, for connectivity or for devices or whatever. So in order for us to find a way to properly disseminate our resources and our library, we decided that we will be looking at what the others are doing. So our quest specifically is to find and identify solutions to deliver digital teacher professional development materials in displacement context in a way that that is equitable, inclusive, and at scale, and also sustainable. So this is what we want. So it may be too much, but we need to aim for it in order for us to feel that we are filling the mission of supporting teachers in displacement context. So this is what we want. And our experiences small, but it's great as you were able to hear from Jihan, and later you will hear Haditha also. You will listen to Haditha yeah, she will be sharing her own experience. So we have this experience, and then we decided that we will go to discover what the others are doing. And for that, we on purpose limited ourselves to large NGOs and UN institutions who were offering teacher professional development programs and support, because we thought that these are the most visible globally. And we know about so many other initiatives and programs, and I see people among the audience who might identify themselves as providing this. But yeah, the idea is, if we are not able to see this from, let's say, from Switzerland, with the great connectivity, with the knowledge that we have, the other teachers will not necessarily be able to find the solution. So this is why we took this decision of limiting it's not a full landscape survey. So this is one part that I will not delve in here, because you will have the chance to read it in the report. But then, from browsing all these interventions and programs that are supposedly the most resourced and with the largest funds generally, we wanted to identify which are the challenges and the opportunities, and also reflect on our experience with challenges and opportunities. And then finally, I think we were able to frame and to, let's say, put in words on few recommendations that we think that they are applicable, and they are, most of the time, they are identified by other frameworks for working in emergencies and for education, and digital or distance education in low resources, and etc. So we are not bringing something that is, we are not inventing the wheel, but we were putting things together so that our colleagues and our and people like-minded who are willing to support teachers are able to find things in one place. So this is the main purpose of it.
I did not.
So before I delve more into details, I want here to really emphasize a main takeaway for us, and that is really visible in all the work that we've done after that, and the recommendations, everything. So the main takeaway is that, or it's an observation, is that a simple, narrow solution is not effective. We need to design what I call here, maybe the term is not clear enough, a comprehensive solution, which means a solution that takes into account more than just how to work or with teachers, or what do teachers need on their let's say narrow level of being in the classroom. Teachers need more than that, and the schools need more than that, and the learners have other needs that we need to identify and support. So this is what we understand, that it's not enough to have a great quality that is co-created by teachers. We also need to make sure that national institutions, NGOs who are dealing with education in refugee camps, for example, are making sure that these resources are presented in the right way and valued, and let's say that the teachers are encouraged to use them. So this is one aspect. I can go maybe for an hour explaining all the levels of the ecosystem. I just put this here for you to attract your attention to this specific, very important idea of not designing only to respond to one limited area of intervention. So saying that, I can here just try to split the audience of our report in two groups. yeah, everyone is welcome to have it, but I think we respond and we are mostly supporting people like us who are willing to work virtually with teachers and support their their capacity strengthening and development, and also facing some challenges in doing that, and because of many constraints and difficulties. So this is one part of the audience, and the second part that I hope they will listen to us. These are the funders, the decision makers, the ministry officers, officials, and program designers who would like that they will now pay more attention to needs that go beyond just designing a project or a program with the content and with kind of a format of delivery, and then throw it in the blue and expecting that this will work great. So these are the audience, and now I will start now sharing with you a few lessons from this report. I will not give you everything because it will not take in 1 hour. I choose this this representation, this graphical representation, to tell you that there is there's many more that are also in the process, and I invite you to go back to the report to discover other main lessons. For here, I decided to focus on 5 dimensions. So first of all, for what we learned is that for teachers, despite all the harsh conditions that they live in and they struggle with, they are ready and eager to learn and ready also to lead. So if we empower them properly, they will take the lead and they will be really the agents of change that we always describe them as. So this is one point. The other point is about the languages. We learned from our project that providing multiple language support and working with the teachers in their preferred languages, this will open a large perspective for them to express their ideas, to reflect, to let's say to be more to be free in bringing ideas and in discussing. So this was really visible. We had English only meetings, and we have meetings in more preferred languages, and the difference is clear. So this is something that we need to invite others to think about, because it will be really valuable for future projects. The other point about time that I've put here is also time from the perspective of working with teachers and with people and beneficiaries in low resource context and in very constrained environments. So in order to be able to work with them and to empower them to participate and create and take the lead, we need to include or to work in a flexible way. So flexibility is a way to overcome challenges. And so it is something that it's maybe hard for the Occidental project managers to say, yes, we need flexibility in the project. But if we don't do that, our colleagues, our fellows from the displacement context will not be able to deliver. The first point that I want to emphasize is that it's very, very essential to make use of the local knowledge that teachers can bring to the table. And this is something that it's not just knowing from far what is the educational system of a country, or how UNHCR is delivering programs in a refugee camp context. It's more than that. It's people telling about their own experiences, about their own challenges, and about their own expectations. Finally, it comes always to funding. So in order for projects like ours to succeed, we need also to compensate the fellow teachers at the in a decent way, and account for this right from the beginning when we are budgeting any intervention. So we were clear about stipend at the beginning, but we were, for example, not aware that in some contexts, in order for a teacher to join a training that you offer for free, you need also to pay them a per diem. So this is something that we learned, and yeah, we understand why. And this is kind of generalizing because the situations are getting complex in everywhere almost. So this is something that we should be aware of. So identify also what is needed in each specific context and make sure that we have funds to cover these needs. So these are some lessons, and with that, I can maybe move to share some challenges and opportunities. So first of all, I will come with what I would call global challenges and opportunities, and then my colleague Hadiza from Niger will share her own perception of challenges and opportunities in her context. So with that, keeping with the same spiral, so for the teacher, the main challenge, and Hadiza will talk further about that, most of the time they are not aware of what is supposed to be here for them. And even if they are aware, most of the time they are not also neither able to access. So they don't have electricity, they don't have devices, they don't have connectivity, or the connectivity is very expensive to them. So they, even if the resources are here, but they are not useful for the target audience for us. Second, for the languages, I think you can all agree with me that when we leave English, the English world, very few resources and quality resources exist in other countries, in other languages. So this is something that is challenging because we wanted to work with teachers in their language, in their own languages. But when we asked them to find resources, and when we looked for resources with them, yeah, not much was found. So in this case, maybe we should provide time to create resources that are adapted or native in each language of interest, and not only having something in English and then working on translating it. This is not the best solution for relevance, I would say. So for the time, yeah, most of the time, the projects are designed in a way that there's not really sufficient time dedicated to have an effective participation. So everyone would say, yes, participation is important, co-creation is very interesting, but then when you come to the timeline that is imposed by many factors, I don't want to name one, so it's, yeah, the time is not enough for that. For the local expertise, you can, yeah, I think if you go through the projects that you are aware of, or through the projects that are listed and described in analyzed in the report, you can see that not much of the teacher expertise, the local teacher expertise, and is involved, and not much interaction with them is really taken forward in the program design. Finally, and yeah, so the funding is limited, and timelines are most of the time very, very shortened and tight, so that, yeah, all what we are, yeah, hoping to achieve by participation, co-creation, leadership, development, and really working on a, let's say, on the same level, not just doing this colonial approach of bringing things top down. And you heard Jihan, she said that this is a training that is project-based. So even 2 years later, Jihan perceives the project as a training for her. She doesn't necessarily, she's doing this. So she's contributing to the project very brilliantly, but she considers herself as a trainee. And the rest of the team, let's say Julie, me, and the others, perceive our fellows really like colleagues. So this needs time, and time is money. So this is really a challenge if ever we want to talk about participation and equity. I maybe took too long on that, but still, it comes from my experience with the great teachers we have in our project. But we can also identify few global opportunities, not few, quite, I depict them here, all of them, in fact. So the opportunities is that more teachers are familiarizing with technology. So at some point in time, I was willing to pilot in Chad, and the coordinator told me teachers don't have mobile phones. And then it turned out that all of them had mobile phones, and we managed to communicate by WhatsApp. And it was the solution because we didn't manage to connect by Teams because of the low connectivity. So even if they are not proficient, at least they are kind of familiarized, they are exposed to technology. They might have computers, they might not lose them professionally, but they have computers eventually, or they can, they have phones for sure. So this is one opportunity that we can build on, but we need to make sure it is real in the context that we want to work with, and not assume this as, it's really everywhere. For the languages, I think now people, and let's say people acting in the sector, they realize that it's very important to address every community with its own language, and not assuming that English is appropriate everywhere, or assume that a national language that is imposed because of colonial history is the best way to communicate and to connect with teachers, and sometimes with the students also. So this is something that is more now people, and the sector is aware of this. And for the time, what is really great, or a great result of the sad COVID era, I would say, is that distance education is now familiar and accepted at in many places in most of the countries, while it before national educational systems were reluctant to rely on distance education, and considering it as a lower quality than face-to-face solution. And now distance education is accepted, and this allows us to work at distance with our fellows, with our teachers, and this is really great because we can avail flexibility out of it. Because imagine if you have a face-to-face workshop and you want to fly the trainer from one country to the other. So if you say that it's 3 days, you can maximum stay for a week, but then that's it. But in order for an effective training to have impact, it needs to be beyond just 3 days or 1 week, and it needs to go into a longer period of reflection and feedback and working together. And this is what is possible with distance, and let's say all the tools that we have now included in our education. For the local expertise, I'm thinking of the last Transforming Education Summit, where we had attract specifically to put the teachers and the teacher struggle forward, and to try to identify solutions to support the teachers that who are in many places not the profession is not valued, the salaries are very low, and we need the profession is really in crisis, I would say, in many countries. And now with some awareness of this, I hope that more work and more resources will be put into the professional development of the teachers. For the funding, also with all that change in the ecosystem, funders are now more open to support creative solutions, mixing face-to-face and online, or working in a participatory way. So all these things are now more, let's say, understood and supported. And I really need to thank our funder, because they were following us and they were supporting us and really curious about what we are doing. So with that, I'll stop talking, taking a break, and I invite my dear Hadiza to come in and share some of her thoughts about her experience with the project in Niger. Hadiza, are you still with us? Do you see Hadiza?
I do see her here. Hadiza, can you hear us? There she is.
Yes.
Yes, please.
But
yeah, can you come in? Yes, hi. Do you see
my video is off, and maybe it's all right.
Yes, go ahead. I can
Okay.
if you want. Here.
Hello.
Yes, Hadiza, can you go?
Okay, thank you. So my name is Hadiza from Niger. I'm a Quality Holistic Learning Senior Fellow and English teacher in Niger. Thank you for giving me the floor and the opportunity to share my observation. I'm sorry, I have a cold and my voice is almost gone. I would like to speak about the global barriers that most of the teachers in Niger face in using information and communication technology in teaching and for professional development. Despite the fact that Niger has had a national plan for ICT use in education since 2019, a study I conducted in January 2022 revealed that teachers were reluctant to use ICT to teach, even during the COVID-19 pandemic. I was among the rare teachers willing to use ICT for both teaching and professional development. Upon further investigation, I found that most teachers, particularly the more experienced ones, have almost no digital skills, even though some of them own smartphones and computers. This breaks my heart, because I know that these technologies could greatly enhance the education of our children, but we are unable to use them effectively. Furthermore, I and my colleagues have a strong interest in using digital tools for professional learning and development, but we are practically unable to access these opportunities. Let me summarize some of the main national barriers that prevent teachers in Niger to benefit from digital teacher professional development even when they are open and free. Firstly, we have the limited digital literacy. We lack digital skills, and we are therefore not able to effectively use technology in the classroom. And then we have the financial constraints. Our profession is not valued in our country. We have low income and are struggling to survive. Thus, we cannot afford the extremely high fees of connectivity in our country. My peers and I don't have the means to afford the increasing high fees of internet connection. For example, attending 1 month online course can cost $148, which is more than 1/3 of the salary a teacher earns in Niger. Then we have the limited access to open educational resources. This is clearly due to our low digital literacy and financial constraints. We don't know where to look for such resources or how to benefit from them. And we have the limited institutional support for professional development. The government lags on the implementation of its own policy on ICT usage in education. After that, I would like you to allow me now to speak about myself. As a teacher, I have a thirst for helping my students to develop all their potentials and a great awareness of citizenship, community, and peace. As I increasingly welcome refugee and displaced students in my classroom, I initially joined the Quality Holistic Learning Project because it appeared to me to be an opportunity to acquire knowledge and develop skills to properly take care of my displaced kids, as I originally had no background knowledge on pedagogies such as social emotional learning or psychosocial support or asset-based pedagogies. As a member of the Quality Holistic Learning Project, I have learned to handle the challenges I used to face, and most importantly, I had the chance to disseminate all what I learned with my colleagues via in-person workshops. Unfortunately, myself and the other fellows from Niger, are not able to continue sharing all the educational resources we have co-created because of financial burden. I must acknowledge that I sometimes felt like quitting the project because of the money I spent on internet fees. But finally, the expenses became less heavy thanks to a stipend we received from the project. Thanks to the project, I now feel that I'm equipped enough, not only to take good care of the displaced student, but also, and mainly, to continue cascading all the knowledge I acquired and skills I developed on holistic learning, IT use, open educational creation, leadership, and above all, collaboration. Yes, the fellows are working, as said Jihan, in a family-like environment. We are not only collaborating virtually, but we have come to create a kind of global family, working together, supporting each other, caring about each other, and learning from each other. I hope that our work will show the way for other programs that can help the teachers make the positive change they aspire for in their communities and in their countries. I am going to give back the floor to Ula. Thank you for listening. Ula, you have the floor.
Yes, Thank you so much, Hadiza, for taking us to Niger. I see that the time is just flowing by. Now we are with the last section of this presentation. Instead of talking into the recommendations, I would rather, I prefer to just give the floor back to Jihan to share her own recommendations. She had a list of them and I asked her just to stick to 2. And then after that, I will invite you to, if you have any questions. So please, Jihan, can you come in? I saw that you were struggling with the connecting. Are you still here? Jihan, I'm not able to see her. Jihan, do you hear me?
It looks like she's here, Ula, but she has been bouncing in and out, and she just left again.
I see her.
I'm back now.
Oh,
This is
Yeah.
what we expected, Ola, didn't we? I haven't been facing any problems for weeks now, and whenever we have a meeting, this has happened. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Again,
Can you? Yeah.
in our project, the train throughout the
Jihan, sorry, Jihan, but I don't seem to hear you well. So do you mind if I play the video instead of?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah, okay.
It's
So,
better.
Yeah, okay. So if I go here, it is, so Jihan prepared for us.
Do they have proper infrastructure? Do they have economic crisis?
Sorry.
So what's
Do you hear the video?
after working in this project,
Yes.
our team has certain recommendations to present to you. First of all, we need assessment in the inception phase before starting the training. We have to research what do educators need, what certain professional development they need, because sometimes we have something in mind about their needs, but when we ask them and when they share their ideas with us, their needs are very different from when we thought about. Also, we have to take into considerations the learners and the students' needs also in a certain way. What do they need to learn? What's missing in their development and learning process? Also, a very important point that we have to take into consideration, we should be very familiar with the local and national context of and the specific needs of teachers and learners. We should be very knowledgeable about the local and the national context, the culture that we are dealing with, some traditions they have, what challenges do they face in their daily life, do they have proper infrastructure, do they have economic crisis, so what the situation really is in the targeted country of training. Also, a very important point that we see and that is missing in most of the training. Most of the time, we give a training and ask the teacher to do whatever we teach them and in their professional development, and we never ask for a feedback. Was a teacher able to apply the materials that they learned? Okay, what challenges do they face during the applicability process? What challenges the teacher trainees face in applying these materials? What things, their suggestions, and what needs to be done in order to improve these professional development trainings, what things they suggest. And most of the time, the most important points come from the teachers themselves, their ideas about improving a certain professional development process, their ways of applying certain knowledge, their ways of solving a certain challenge they face. Another teacher may find it a very precious information to learn from.
Yeah, great, Jihan. Thank you very much for taking the time for recording, and yeah, you are brilliant. So with that, I think I will rather skip this. You can find it in the report and give some time for your questions, and me and my team are really looking for your questions, and we'll try to answer any of them. So Julie, did you see any questions posted maybe, or?
Yes, there was one question. I'm going to remove the pin, and I'll invite people. If we can all see each other now, if you want to turn on your mic and ask a question, we want to invite you. There was a question about the context in Lebanon and teacher participation, and that was directed at Jihan. I'm trying to find it now. If the person who wrote that would like, I think that was Angela. Angela, would you like to share your question?
Hello there, thank you so much. And this has been such an interesting session, and I feel like maybe my question has been answered by some of the comments. So Jihan was so clearly motivated and engaged and fully part of the process with you guys, which is great. I have been Lebanon-based and worked on projects in Lebanon quite a lot in public schools and some of the private schools that cater to refugees and other marginalized groups. And often when we try to set anything to do with teachers, the first comment is always, oh, the teachers are struggling, you know, they're not getting paid enough, they don't have enough time, they don't want more work and more problems and things that are not helping them get through the day. So I wanted to ask Jihan, what was, you know, did you relate to that, to feel that that was an unfair comment about many teachers, and maybe what was different about this project that made it something that she could connect to and enjoy and be part of? Thank you.
Angela, thank you for that question. Jihan, were you able to hear the question, and are you able to respond on your mic or in the chat? I'm not sure what the connectivity might be. Hadiza, you could also respond to this question, because similarly, you're working in a very challenging context. And the question is really wondering, how do teachers make time to participate, or why make time to participate in something like this? Are you able to respond, Hadiza?
Hello.
Hi.
So as far as my context is concerned, it's really very hard, especially for female teachers, to have time to participate in such a kind of project, because we have not only duties as far as our profession is concerned, but we have also family responsibilities. For example, you have to take care of your own kids, your husband, family members, and at the same time prepare for your lessons and take care of your students. So it's really a little bit tough, but with the engagement, the motivation, you can try to make time. I don't know if you have noticed that most of the time, my participation in reading document or modifying some document, it's early or sometimes even late in the evening, that because it's the only time I can work on the project. The full day is almost booked. You have to go to school sometimes in the morning and in the afternoon, and you have at the same time to prepare to eat or really have something else to do that's really on your family duties. Then it's the time you need to sleep that you are going to use to work on the doc and try to have a little bit of rest before the morning. So it's tough, but if you are motivated, and because we have reasons really to join the project and work on it. Because, for example, in my case, I have refugee and displaced kids. And I was really not very at ease in my mind when I saw those, I see those kids not having the same chances as the local student. Because if they come in the classroom, they are even lost. It's not the environment to which they are used to, and they have to learn subjects. They are back far from the other students. So it's not easy. And I really found the project beneficial for me in dealing with all those kind of challenges I used to face. So I really need to learn and continue learning on teaching in displacement context. That's why I continue making time to attend and participate to all what concern the project and the work we are doing in the project. So that's what I can say for my personal experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Hadisa, so much. And, just to give a little more context to Angela, we put out a call for participants among our teacher networks, including NGO and university teacher preparation programs. And we had over 300 applications in a very short window of time. And so there's definitely the interest, and this was including in Lebanon, there's definitely the interest on the part of teachers, as you're hearing from Hadiza, to be part of these things. It often doesn't trickle down from the hierarchies in place through different mechanisms. And so finding that way to get the invite to teachers directly, I think, is critical. I want to invite Vianney to share. If Vianney is one of our fellows in Kakuma in Kenya. Vianney, if you'd like to share anything about your experience or why or how you joined the project, because you also are working in a very challenging context. So why make time for something like this? Would you like to say anything, Vianney? I'm not sure about the connection there either. Okay, I'll invite any other comments in the chat from Jihan or Vianney. If you're able to write versus speak, that's wonderful too. And we are at the hour, and so if people need to leave, we understand, but I know I can stay on a few more minutes, and Ula, I think you can as well. If anyone else has questions or comments that they'd like to share, we invite those.
Maybe I can come in while people may be thinking about questions or hesitating. Please do. So I'm sharing something that Jihan told me a couple of days ago, that with the crisis getting really more intense and harder in Lebanon, less and less teachers are interested in taking professional development. And this is similar everywhere. So people, if they are struggling to feed their kids, they will not spend the time to get yet another training. And they prefer to take this time to find another job, a second job, or something part-time to complete their salaries that are not enough at all. And this is also the case, for example, in Niger. And and in many places in the world. So this is something that, whenever the conditions become very hard, teachers will turn their backs to training. And in these circumstances, stipends and per diem become kind of an incentive. So we should not look at this as if the teachers are just coming because they have this stipend. We should think about it as a compensation of the time that they might have spent doing something that is remunerated for them. So this is something that we were not aware of before, and I learned that from if people that are willing, they most of the time they are willing to take the training, but when they have all the challenges and constraints, it's not possible for them to avail time for it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Ula. Coming from a teaching background myself, though in the US, a very different context, not the same displacement context at all. I'm very well aware of that. Even in the US, teachers really have to be mindful of how they use their time and energy. And being compensated for your time is part of being recognized as a professional and part of being recognized for your expertise. And so I think that's a larger issue that the Teacher Task Force with UNESCO and others, Education International, are looking at those work conditions and what are the most enabling conditions to support continuous lifelong learning, which is really the goal, right? And then there's all those other layers. Alyssa, I saw you had your camera on, so I didn't know if you had something you wanted to share. Alyssa has been working diligently on this project with us for over 2 years now as well, works with the fellows directly as well. And so having heard from Hadiza and from Jihan and from Ula, Alyssa, I'm wondering what's going through your mind? What are your takeaways from this report? What are you thinking about in terms of teacher learning and leadership?
Yeah, thank you, Julie. It's so great to see you all and see everyone. I think that the main takeaway is, as I wrote to you earlier this week, I just I wish that we had the report before we started the project, but I'm so grateful for all of the learnings that Ula has shared with us, mainly because we have struggled, I think, especially with the team in Kenya, to figure out how to share the resources that we had created, and the most, I think, strategic and solid avenue for that, we're still trying to figure it out. So I am really grateful to Ula for this wonderful report. I think it shows, the potential that we have in sharing the resources, and how much I think also there is yet to learn about sharing OERs in displacement context. So I'm so thrilled to be a part of this team. I think they're incredibly resilient, and despite all of the challenges that we've seen in all of the contexts, and the Kenya team especially, who that team I've worked closely with, they continue to persevere and to not give up. And through this fellowship, I think we've all learned a lot, myself included. So thank you.
Alyssa, thank you for that. And we really hope this report will be just the beginning of the conversation. As you noted, we wished we knew all of this before we started the project, but we've learned all of this through the project, and it's just the beginning, as you said, so much more to learn. And we hope that together with everyone who was here, and all the people who will read the report and watch this webinar recording, that we'll continue this conversation together. And it's really together that we're going to move this forward. And so we need to be thinking about that together piece. How are we supporting and lifting each other's work up? How are we sharing each other's OER resources? Because many organizations have OER resources. How are we supporting each other's teams of teachers and across different contexts? We're working in similar areas. So how are we in dialogue in those areas and in our work? So I look forward to that continued conversation and some future collaborations. And with that, Ula, I want to turn back to you for the last words as we wrap up. And I want to say thank you to everyone very much for being part of the work and part of this conversation today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Julie. I don't want to keep people waiting for too long. I'm really grateful for those who attended today, and I'm grateful for the whole team. So mainly the fellows in the countries, but also Alisa and Tara, she's in Lebanon, and Julie, the great inspirer for all of us. She's very inspirational and she's very supportive. And I think with this report, as Alisa said, this is, yeah, it gives us food for thought to think about new ways of dissemination and uptake. So the classical ones that we identified are here, but yeah, I don't know if they are effective enough, and we need to discuss how to find creative ways to disseminate and to make sure that every teacher, even in the far front of a desert, is able to make use of this if he is willing to, and give him the possibility to do that. So yes, thank you everyone, and yeah, don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions. Yeah, I think Julie already shared the webpage of our project and the report, and you can easily find the email addresses, and please reach out. Thank you everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Hadiza. Thank you, Jihan. Thanks all. Take good care.
Thank you.